Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use linear regressions to find the equation of a line given a table, a graph, and or 2 points. Okay, so the first example we're going to take a look at is tables. And the first thing you want to do is go ahead and open up Desmos on your browser. So you can do desmos.com. That'll take you to this page right here. You want to click on Graphing Calculator. When you get here, the second step is to add a table. And we're going to do that by clicking this plus sign right here. And then some options are going to pop up. You want to click on the table option. Once this pops up on your screen, you want to go ahead and type in some points from your table. Now you don't have to put all of your points, you could just put 2 points. So we're going to use -5 and -16 for our first point. And you could do -2 and -7 for your second point. So that's that third step right here. Now for our last step, we want to go ahead and add a section down here below our table. And you want to type this formula down here. Okay, so we're going to type in Y1 using your keyboard. And then for that squiggly line, there's 2 ways you could do it. You can either hold Shift on your keyboard and press on the key that's on the left side of your 1. That'll give you a squiggly line. Or you can open up this keyboard down here, and if you go to the ABC options, your squiggly line is also down here below the B. Okay, so you can use either one. Now you're going to do mx1 plus b. Okay, now I want you to notice that down here, you get an m and your b. Your m is your slope, and b is your y-intercept. And those are the 2 things you need in order to write your equation of a line in slope-intercept form. So the way we would write this equation would be y equals your slope, which is 3, followed by an x, and then -1 for the y-intercept. Okay, so now you just wrote your equation. You can also answer other questions using this linear regression. For example, if a question asks you to find the rate of change of this table over here, then you would look at your slope of 3, because remember that slope and rate of change are the same thing. And if for whatever reason they ask you about the y-intercept, then you know your y-intercept is -1. So that was the first example. That was from tables. Now we want to look at our second example when they give us a graph. Okay. Now notice that the first step when it comes to graph is to identify 2 points in your graph. Okay. There's a bunch of exact points in this graph. Notice on this next slide, you can see all of these points in black are exact points, okay? As long as they're touching a vertical line, a vertical grid line, and a horizontal grid line, then it is an exact point. But we don't need all of those points on our graph. We could just use 2. So I decided to choose this one and this one for my 2 points. Now you gotta write the order pair so you know what points to put on your table. So notice that I went ahead and drew some lines following to the x-axis. So for this first point on the left, we touch -6 on the x-axis, and then we touch 4. We touch 1 on the y-axis. So that tells me that my order pair for this point would be -6, 1. Now looking at this point right here, it's touching -4 on the x-axis. Notice that it is right on the x-axis. So we don't have to follow that one to the x-axis because it's already touching the x-axis. So we know that our x-coordinate is -4. And then on the y, notice that we are following it to the y and we touch the number 0. So our coordinate for this one would be -4, 0. And this is the way your coordinates will look right here. -6, 1, and negative 4 is 0. Once you have identified your points, you can come back here to your decimals tab. And if you have already set up this table in your decimals, there's no need to erase it. All you have to do is change your numbers. So we have negative 6 and 1, and then negative 4 and 0. Okay. Now notice that I'm going to go ahead and delete this equation from our last example. But notice that we get a new m and a new b because we changed the numbers in our table. So for the slope, we got negative 0.5. And for y-intercept, we got negative 2. So that means when we write our equation, we can type it as y equals negative 0.5 followed by x, and then our y-intercept of negative 2. Now, let's say that this equation isn't shown in one of the answer choices for whatever problem you're looking at, and you see a fraction instead. You can also use decimals to change this decimal into a fraction. All you have to do is type in m in a new section, m for your slope, and they still have the decimal here, but once you click on this little fraction over here, if you click on it, it changes that decimal into a fraction. So our slope in fraction form would be negative 1/2. So you might also see a answer that instead of having negative 0.5, they might have negative 1/2. But those two equations are equivalent, these two right here. Equivalent, okay? Now, once again, if they ask you for the rate of change of this graph, you will look at your slope and you would say it would be negative 0.5 or negative 1/2. And if they ask you for the y-intercept, again, you look at your b, and that is negative 2. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look at our last example. This is when you are given 2 points. The problem says determine the equation of a line that passes through the points negative 1, 5 and 2, 7. Well, that's easy because they already gave you your 2 points, and all you have to do is put those on your decimals table. And I'm going to go ahead and restart this process so you see it one more time step by step on how to do it. So again, you want to click on Add, Table. Once you have this table on your screen, you can go ahead and start putting in your points. The first one is negative 1 and 5, 2 and 7. Once you have your table set up, now you want to go ahead and add a new section with this equation down here. So you're going to do y1, shift, squiggly line, or like I said before, you can click on this keyboard, go to the ABCs, click on this little squiggly line underneath this B. And now you just want to finish off your equation. You want to do mx1 plus b. And there is no particular way to make this one small. You just type it on your keyboard and it'll automatically go down and small like you see it here. Okay. Notice that this time we got a really ugly decimal for our slope and our y-intercept. But remember the little trick that I showed you? All you have to do is go down here, type m, there goes your slope again. Press on this little fraction symbol you see right here, and it changes your slope into a fraction. So this decimal, 0.666667 is also equivalent to the fraction 2/3. And you could do the exact same thing with your y-intercept. You're just going to type in b. There goes your y-intercept that you see up here. But we want it in fraction form, and there you go. 17/3 is the fraction form. Okay. So now we can write our equation with those fractions. Okay, so we are going to write y equals, our slope goes first, 2/3, followed by the x, And then notice that your y-intercept is positive this time. So this time we're going to put plus 17 over 3. So this is how you use linear regression to find your equation of a line given 2 points. And once again, if they ask you for the rate of change or the slope, you're going to look at the m, which is 2 over 3. And if they ask you about the y-intercept, then it's 17 over 3. Okay, so linear regressions are very useful when it comes to tables, graphs, and or 2 points, right? And there you go. Hope you learned something today.